Hey guys, good evening, good morning, good day. Welcome to the Sunday International Big Book Workshop. I'm Dan, I'm a recovered alcoholic. Sobriety date, 1st of Feb 21. This workshop is facilitated by Kemble H. This study relies on you listening, but please we pray that you have your big book in hand and follow along with a pen, pencil, or highlighter. Make any notes you need and pause if you have to. Write down any questions and we'll take them at the end of the meeting. We will keep everybody muted during the workshop except for the facilitators. Any inappropriate behaviour will not be tolerated and you will be removed. This meeting is being recorded. The audio portion only is being recorded and only of the facilitators. The recording will be shut down at the end of the meeting before taking any questions in order to preserve your anonymity. Okay. How we start this meeting is with the step 3 prayer found on page 63. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, so that I better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Amen. Have a great meeting, everybody. And over to you, Kemble.
Okay, thank you, Dan, for another great lead. Good afternoon, peeps. Happy Sunday. I'm a recovered alcoholic named Kemble. Sobriety date, February 3rd, 2020. I am a member of the Keystone Group. I suffered from alcoholism 42 years before I was 12 steps through this program. 3 decades in and out of the rooms, dying of alcoholism, but I didn't have this message that was presented me into this book. When this message was presented to me, it simply enabled me to find a power that was greater than myself. Because y'all know, some of y'all know my experience. I always thought I had all the power to stop myself from drinking, but it never worked. And we all probably had the same experience. So welcome anybody new, anybody coming back, anybody struggling. And I'd like to talk about what we call step 11 today in detail. You know, we touch on step 11 pretty much every time I talk about step 11 because it gives me a 24-hour day clock to live by. And it's changed my life since these steps was incorporated into me. And I'm grateful for it. So we'll be doing at the bottom of page 85, and we're going to go through until page 88. But first, I'd like to get started. Bill Wilson, you know, he made this mention of prayer and meditation. So look, by now we've taken steps 4 through 9. So and then we continue to take the same action in step 10, you know, over and over again. We should now have removed the things that block us off and our fellow man. Now we should be able to receive God's will and to tap that unsuspected inner resource of power, which we talk about in the spiritual appendix in the back of the book. And you know that power is God, as however you may want to understand it, but I know how I understand it. I know what he did for me. He actually did for me what I could never do for myself. So you know, that's what the previous steps are about, right? It's to get us to step 11. No doubt, we can tap into this power anytime we get ready today. You know, in my drinking career, the only power I could tap in was my own power, and it led me to another drink. And then that gave me the power and the courage, and I thought I was God. I thought I could rule the world and get me more than 2 drinks under my belt. Shoot, I'm God. Now, you got to bow down to my demand. And you know how that life was utterly miserable until alcohol beat me into a state of reasonableness. Said, man, you can't do this crap. You can't fix yourself. But, you know, a sick mind can't fix a sick mind. And, you know, and I rebelled against the program for many years. But then, once we get to step 11, right, we can carry this to another person. And, you know, throughout the book, even when Bill Wilson was back in the hospital, the thought of him came to his mind to reach out to another alcoholic. And that would help his drinking problem, and it sure did. So the pinnacle of step 11, you know, in the dictionary here, the pinnacle is a summit, which means it's the highest point. So the pinnacle is step 11 for this program. So now we don't work the other steps. We can tap into this power. And on page 567, I believe it's page 567, I want to share this little short paragraph with you. The bottom of page 567 in our big book. Last paragraph. And it goes on to read. What often takes place in a few months could seldom have been accomplished by years of self-discipline. With few exceptions, our members find that they have tapped an unsuspected inner resource, which they presently identify with their own conception of a power greater than themselves. Key point, power greater than themselves. You know, we alcoholics, we lost the power of choice and drink a long time. And by relying on our own power, the problem can't be solved. I didn't have the power to solve myself. The big book tells us lack of power, that was our dilemma. So what are we going to do about it? Well, the purpose of this book is to enable us to find a power that is greater than ourselves, which will solve our problem. Now, note, when Bill wrote this step, he was like 3 years sober. You know, he had been around people in the Oxford group, and then he was around with Dr. Bob's wife, Anne, and she would read to him from the Bible. See, the Oxford group was actually a religious group, right? But it was different from AA. AA hadn't been incorporated then. You know, and Bill certainly wasn't the first person that was ever an alcoholic, but he was definitely the first person that put his experience down into a book to show us the problem, the solution, and the course of action. So we got to thank God for Bill Wilson, because this book definitely had to be divine inspired. It solved my alcohol problem, so it got to be from up above. Because everything down here didn't solve my alcohol problem. No human power, no program, no wife, no kids, no job, no nothing could solve my darn problem. But you know, the biggest problem with my alcohol is my darn self. Self blocked me off from the power greater than me. It did. Because I was selfish. I was self-centered. I always told people I can solve my own problem. I don't need your help. Shoot, who knows, years later, shoot, I was crawling to the darn door. Oh, God help me. Somebody help me. I had to cry out to God. God ain't you. So, you know, God had to let God, had to get myself out the way, in other words. So now Bill, he was faced with the task of writing about prayer and meditation. But Bill didn't have the experience, but he was writing to a group of people who were spiritually bankrupt. Now remember, early in the book, we talk about the spiritual malady. It talks about the spiritual malady, right? But the spiritual malady is a condition of all human beings. It has nothing to do with our alcoholism. It's a human condition. We all are warped and twisted when it comes to being spiritual. I know I was from personal experience. I grew up the home I grew up in. My mom and dad, they were very religious people, and they took me to church every time the doors open. But then when I got grown enough or thought I was old enough to take a drink, I took one at 14. By the time I was 16, I left home in the 11th grade and got married because the alcohol was taking a part in my life then. So I said, I don't need this church stuff. I can handle my own problem. Shoot, that stuff came back and beat me in the butt, right? Tore my butt up. I was spiritually bankrupt. I was mentally bankrupt. I was physically bankrupt. I was bankrupt in every area of my life. Relationships. I was bankrupt with relationships because I destroyed every last one of them that I really got into. So, I have to be thankful to God for a spiritual way of living today. Getting out of myself was one of the greatest blessings that ever came upon me. And the idea of connecting to this power, right? The idea starts back in step 3, when we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. So this decision we make, we want to turn our will over, but we also got to do something else. The big book always stresses action and more action. So we had to take the rest of these steps, right? That was the decision. That was the most crucial decision that I made. I could have got to step 3 like I've been trying for 30 years, right? I could have just stopped right there, but then every time I did stop right there, boom, I went and drank again. Then I had to go back to step 1 again. And then I come to find out step 1 was my darn problem. I couldn't accept the fact that y'all people telling me I'm a darn alcoholic when I know good and well I ain't. I just got a high tolerance. That's what I used to tell people. I didn't know it was this darn allergy that was causing me to drink much as I did, you know. But I used to laugh at the other people because I thought they were weak. I said, man, you can't hang with me. You a weak little chump. Get out my way. And then they'll pass out. And I let them spend the night or maybe on my couch or something. They're asleep for 8 hours. They wake up the next morning. I'm still sitting there drinking and laughing at them. They say, you little wimp. But man, I was suffering from a darn allergy. I had no idea. That means when I take a drink, my body gets thirstier as I drink. My body requires more and more. Wow. And I tried to beat this thing, but I couldn't. There's nothing I could ever do to shut this darn allergy off. Man. So here, back to Bill. So we know Bill talks about this spiritual structure throughout the book, and it's a beautiful plan. So now he lays out a plan that anybody can apply to their lives. So anybody that would take this plan that this, as in step 11, is going to require us to do and apply it in their lives, it will teach us a personal life of prayer and meditation on an individual basis. And we have to do this individual. We can't do it as a group because our relationship with God or the power that's greater than ourselves, that's what's going to give us some ground. See, I was in that fellowship for like over 3 decades, but just being in that fellowship, it just kept me drunk, right? Because they were using their own ideas, they were using their own opinions, but the program of recovery is found in this book. I was in a fellowship, right? But I wasn't in the program. So, you know, I simply couldn't stop. It took the program of Alcoholics Anonymous to solve my darn alcoholic problem. So people look at spirituality. Some people think, well, I can't live a spiritual life. Well, if you were bad as I was and as desperate as I became, beat down as I was, the spiritual life is the solution for our problem. There's just no doubt about it. So when I came off that great big old throne that I thought I was on, I could take these steps and move on. So and the important part is today, by living in step 11, we can see God's direction for our lives. And then Bill talks about this sixth sense of direction, and it's on a personal and a daily basis. So the bottom of page 85, Dan, you can read that until just a little short paragraph, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, just the one where it stops at suggestion on 86.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Just the bottom last paragraph, we're in 85. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than us were using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. It would be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions.
Okay, thank you, brother. You notice it says step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. You know, Bill learned how to pray, he learned how to meditate from what he learned from that Oxford group. And also when every brought Bill a message from that group. And it talks about these 4 absolutes. But before we can start a life of prayer and meditation, we have to gain some humility. I was too proud to accept any kind of help, especially when it came to spiritual help, because I thought I was grown. My panties was in a wad, or my drawers was in a wad, and I said, I can handle it. I can handle it. But the lie detector determined that was a lie, because I could not handle my own drinking. I lost the power of choice to drink a long time ago. And then it says we are using it constantly. Prayer and meditation is very important for, you know, a real alcoholic of my type. I can tap into that power. The power is God. God, what can I do about this? What can I do about that? Boom. And he simply helps me. I can meditate. I can meditate on what I read, whether it be from this big book or it be from my Bible or whatever books anybody choose to read. So the big book tells us, make sure that you're to make use of what religious people have to offer. And that's a helpful suggestion. So, and then it goes on to say, better men than we are using it constantly. We're talking about the prayer. Better men are using prayer constantly. How many of us can remember throwing up over the toilet and then we want to pray? God help me to get over this and I won't touch another darn drop the rest of my life. And then 10 minutes later, when I get through throwing up, I'm pouring some more liquor down my throat. You know, I'm throwing up again, asking God the same thing. That's what we call them old foxhole prayers. Get me out of trouble prayers right quick. But this program is going to teach us to gain a relationship with this power. And we can talk to him all the time, whether we, because we need him every day in our life. It's because of him that we live, we breathe, we move, we exist. We can talk, we can walk, we can hear, smell, feel, you name it. Then it goes on to say it works if we had a proper attitude and work at it. Notice it says work at it. And the work is not hard. It's simple, but not easy. A price had to be paid. It meant destruction of self-centeredness. No doubt about it. Then I must turn in all things to the Father of lights who presides over all and in all and through all. But this proper attitude has to come from humility. If I could have never gained some humility, God the one had to humble me. When I knew that alcohol was killing me, I ain't had no choice but to turn to God. I could live, I could pursue an alcoholic death. I was already doomed. I faced near death, I don't know how many times, from being under the influence of alcohol. Blood pressure would beat up so high before they had to keep me in the hospital for 7 or 8 days. Violent situations I've been in, people try to cut me in the heart, try to stick my lungs out. And, you know, and that's being under the influence of alcohol. But the trouble I was getting in, the behavior I was getting in, it had nothing to do with me being an alcoholic. I was simply an alcoholic because I suffered from this darn allergy. I couldn't, and then I suffered from a problem in the mind. See, the problem of the alcoholic is centers in the mind rather than in the body. See, the mind's job is to get us to take that first drink. And then if we do have this allergy inside of us, it's going to cause us to drink. And we can't shut it off no matter how hard or how much we try. And then it says it will be easy to be vague about this matter. Yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. So Brother Dan, take that when we retire at night paragraph, and we'll roll from there.
Yeah, cool. Just moving on page 86. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Or were we thinking of what we could do for others? Or what we could pack into the stream of life? But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken.
Okay, thank you, brother. Now, this paragraph talks about some of our character defects, right? As human beings, we're going to forever have character defects. But the important thing, we need to ask God to remove the ones that's blocking us from him. And he'll replace them with something new. So these defects we have is nothing new. We've always had them. But my drinking days, I couldn't see it. I didn't think I had no darn defect until I had to write these things down on paper and look at myself. Self was the problem. Self the one that was full of defects. And so we've been talking about some of these throughout the big book, right? We got what we call selfishness. We got self-seeking, frightened, dishonest, and inconsiderate. We were all of these things. No doubt about it. I know I was all of them. I don't know about y'all, but this describes me to the T. Simply, that self-will run right. If it wasn't about me, you was nothing. That's just the way my attitude was. And even today, you know, we can vary up and down, back and forth with some of these defects, but we got a plan now. And when it talks about we reviewing, after making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and we inquire what corrective measures should be taken, right? So this gives us an opportunity to stop at the end of the day, look back over our day, then we can see what we can continue to take to God, to see what we need removed. So then after we made this simple review. We can ask God again to remove those things and give me the strength and the power to do the opposite. Get me out of self-centeredness. Get me out of selfishness, all of these things. But you know, it's almost impossible to do this and stay the way you are. Almost all the successful people in the world that I've ever seen anyway, they used to tell me that one of the reasons for their success is the ability to stop and inventory themselves from time to time. And I've been able to incorporate that in my experience through this AA program. I do have to look at myself because, you know, sometimes our attitudes, they're going to pop up. We're not going to like everything people say to us. We're not going to like everything people do to us. But with practice of this program, it helps us to deal with it on a different basis. We have a different footing now. We don't have to react like we used to, you know, at least like I used to back in my drinking day. And, you know, and this helps with continuous growth each and every day, you know, and gradually, we're going to get to that part too. We'll get to that part on the next page. I'm trying to go too fast right now. But anyway, we can definitely continue our growth now on a day-to-day basis. You know, my drinking career, I couldn't look at self. I couldn't see self. I couldn't see who I was wrong. I thought everybody in the world was wrong except me. Yep, that was it. You wrong for saying this to me. You wrong for treating me this way. You wrong for lying to me. And I done sat here and lied to you and you and you, and I done tricked you. I done took from you. I done did something. But it was all about me. And that's the problem with us, a lot of us alcoholics. All of our alcoholics have these traits. Self. Human beings have a tendency, you know, to be selfish and self-centered anyway. That's part of the human condition. But it's much worse with an alcoholic. But, you know, practicing the principles in this program, we got God. We can tap into God's power and talk to him about these defects. And it works. It really does, because he's removed a lot of them from me. And I thank him for it. So, continuous growth. That's what step 11 is all about. Every day, there's growth all throughout the day. And it works. We got to have a proper attitude and practice this humility. Yes. And it does the trick. So, Brother Dan, we'll go through on awakening. So, just finish. You can finish the page. Yeah.
Yeah, finish the page. Cool.
Uh-huh.
On awakening. Let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest or self-seeking motives. Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance, for after all, God gave us brains to use. With our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. In thinking about our day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Here we ask God for inspiration, an intuitive thought or a decision. We relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. We are often surprised how the right answers come after we have tried this for a while.
Okay, you good, my brother. Thanks so much again. Now, a question. I wonder what we could have do about our lives, our mind. But you know, our mind is our lives. Notice this part of the book. We're dealing with the mind. We're not dealing with the physical no more. We're dealing with the mind. That's where all our thoughts come from. So if we could, I wonder if us humans, if we could spend as much time on our minds as much as we do our clothes, what our lives would be like, right? We spend a lot of time thinking about other things, right? Clothes, shoes, or shopping, or taking vacations, or whatever it is. But anyway, our minds we run the whole show. It's all centered right here. But you know, this process, it takes time in the morning to get our lives, our minds together. This is the beginning of a great day. See, I think about God when my eyes pop open in the morning. And Says on awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. No doubt about it. So we consider, says we consider our plans for the day. But my personal practice, yes, I have to talk to God right then on the spot. God, what can I do today to be of maximum benefit to you and to other people? I ask him to direct my thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. And of course, I talked to him a lot longer than that. But then it starts my day off good, and then I have a purpose for that day. See, in my drinking career, the only purpose I had was taking another drink, then my whole day be screwed up. But the first thought popped in my mind when I was in my drinking career was to roll up or reach under my pillow when I'm laying down, take me a drink, then my day start, and the whole day is just screw up because it was all about me and getting another drink. I didn't care who I hurt, who I upset, just didn't care. Couldn't see it. My mind was combobbled. So, but you know, we all have some great minds. Just because we alcoholics didn't make us dumb or stupid. We were suffering from an illness, right? Let me ask you this. Anybody ever seen a dumb alcoholic? No, I had. We alcoholics are some of the smartest and wittiest people in the world. We gonna come up with a plan for your butt to get what we want out of you to get us another drink. We're gonna come up with the best lies, the best excuses, the best alibis, you name it. I done did it. Yeah, so we didn't have a problem thinking. But eventually, my best thinking ran me into these darn rooms because my best drinking ran me almost to the graveyard. So I'm grateful for that today. And then we might want to ask ourselves another question. Well, is my life as good as my mind? Did you be like, no, I have a better mind, but during my drinking career, I had insane thinking. You know, that crazy insanity, the insidious insanity of that first drink. Knowing when I take that first drink, I'll never know when I'm gonna stop. I never knew. Man, I could stop when I went to sleep. When I passed out, I could stop. Or they put me in the police car, I could stop. Or if I ended up in a detox center, I could stop. But you let them doors open. As soon as I hit that door, boom, 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 I back in it again. So it's important in the morning doing step 11 to have a little quiet time in the morning. It's a preference for me. I don't know about anybody else. But anyway, and then the big book goes on to tell us, when my thought life gets better, then when my thinking is clear the wrong motive. You know, our thought life gets much better. Then it goes on to say, for after all, God gave us brains to use. Yeah, our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. Quite opposite a reaction of doing my drinking career, right? My thinking didn't have no good motives. No, my motive was to steal, kill, and steal, kill, and take away. If you couldn't do nothing for me, when it come to my alcohol, then I couldn't be around you. I had to get the heck away from you. I had to fight you on. Now that's the wrong kind of motive to have. We tell ourselves, I'm gonna go to this person because I ain't got enough to buy all the alcohol I need today. Then they tell us they ain't got it. See, we be ready to fight them people. I know I did. I don't know about y'all, but I was ready to cuss them out, ready to fight them, or whatever it took. Either I was gonna beg their butt till they gave me something so I can get out of their face and go on about my business. So throughout every day, right, we're gonna face some indecision. And then it goes on to say, yeah, in thinking about our day, we may face indecision, right? So throughout every day, we're going to have situations where we face indecisions. But, we have to realize we are human beings and we all have flaws. I don't care how long we've been sober, as a human being, we're going to be flawed up the rest of our days in this life. We built on that. We were flawed from the very beginning, and we will be flawed all the way to the end. So, we only on this earth for a short period of time, right? So when we think about the universe and how big and expanded that it is, we see we're not that significant. We just a little small spot somewhere in the universe. So we're going to experience a lot of different things in life. and that's part of being alive. So we learn from these things, right? My experience in my drinking career, it taught me what I am today or who I am today. All the experiences in 42 years of drinking, I can't say all of them was bad, but there were more terrible times than anything. When I found myself, I couldn't stop myself from drinking, that was a problem. Until I accepted help for my problem, could nothing be done about it. Boom, 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 boom. Relapse, relapse, relapse. I was the relapse king. So we're going through this day. I'm gonna get to relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. I'll get to that in just a minute. So, but we don't know what we're gonna face each day. It can be anything. Anything can pop up at any time during the day. But let me share this part, which is one of the greatest gifts of this program that we have doing step 11, is we had the ability to say, well, shoot, God, I just don't know what to do about this right now. That's where the step 11 pause come in at. As we go through the day, we pause. Simple pause means a simple, quick prayer. God, what can I do? You find yourself against a brick wall, you can't go through it. God, help me get through this brick wall. If tempted by something, we recoil from it as from a hot flame, right? We have the power to do that now because the power we rely on is not ours today. It's grounded in a power that's greater than ourselves. But relinquishing to this power is very hard when a person of an alcoholic type as I was, if I was still rooted in self-centeredness and selfishness, I could have never have been able to access this power that was greater than me. And then I'd still be screwed up today. Wow. So on the top of the next page, page 87, our big book says, I get this and that. Okay. It says what used to be a hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. That means this process, during this step 11 process, it gradually becomes a working part of the mind. So then it talks about what used to be the hunch, right? We all have hunches, but they come when they want to, seemingly. But by practicing this definite and valuable suggestion, the occasional inspiration, it gradually becomes a working part of the mind. And if we practice this, it'll be something we can use at all times to receive answers in our lives. Now today, quite different than it was in my drinking career, I can rely on this source of power and the information that I've got from practicing the steps in this program. So now I can receive answers for the problems that I have in my life today through the application of these very good and valuable suggestions. This one suggestion will change your life, but you have to practice and practice. It just don't come automatic. Simple practice it is. And it's changed my life. A relationship with God today, or the power greater than myself today, is the greatest blessing that I possibly could have ever got. And it's all thanks to this AA program of recovery. So, very same paragraph on page 87. It says, being still inexperienced. That's where practice has to come in. The only way we can get experience is practice, right? Action and more action, as the big book said. It is not probable that we are going to be inspired at all times. We might pay for this presumption in all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. We might pay for this presumption, right? But here, hope lies in this very sentence right here. And then it says, nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely on it. So in the beginning, when I finally accepted the plan outlined in this book, I turned my will over to God, and it brought about a cycle of change. It brought about a change within me. That simply solved my alcohol problem. But now I'm learning how to live a regular life, a life without alcohol, a life without the burdens, a life of no longer being irritable, discontented, and all of that. No, I'm happy, joyous, and free today, right? But that's not to say I'm free from problems. Now I have problems every single day, but this plan outlined in this book, it solves my problem because I can stop and pause, and we're gonna get to that at the bottom of this page. So, anyway, Dan. Oh yeah, one more thing about meditation. I forgot the meditation part on 87, the middle paragraph. It says we usually conclude the period of meditation with a prayer. See, there's prayer connected, there's meditation connected. And we learn the gift of prayer through this program. It's a vital part of all of our recovery. A prayer that we be shown through the day what our next step is to be. That's what we ask God to direct our thinking. You know, on awakening, we ask him to direct it, God. But my thinking get me screwed up. I need your thinking incorporated within me. So we tapped in, we found that power on page 55, right? We found out that power was deep within us. Now, when taking the rest of the steps, we gain access to this power. Rooted in step 11. Now we have made conscious contact with this power or with God as we understand him. And he solves all our problems. I don't keep myself sober today, right? It's God who does it. He does it. I just simply rely on him. Faith in a power greater than myself. You know, there are miraculous demonstrations that we see today in these rooms. Beautiful by taking this process. So, what we ask especially for freedom from self-will. And we are careful to make no request for ourselves today. We simply pray for other people today. We pray for God's will to be done because we all need God's direction in our life today. Because we burn up a whole lot of energy during our drinking career, making foolish decisions, killing ourselves with alcohol, near-death experiences. We did a little bit of everything. There's nothing in the book we alcoholics hadn't did. So, Dan, at the bottom of the, you can finish as we go through the day. You can finish it on yeah.
Yeah, cool. Right at the bottom, last paragraph, page 87, guys. As we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful and ask for the right thought or action. We constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show, humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, "Thy will be done." We are then in much less danger of excitement, fear, anger, worry, self-pity, or foolish decisions. We become much more efficient. We do not tire so easily, for we are not burning up energy foolishly, as we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. It works, it really does. We alcoholics are undisciplined, so we let God discipline us in the simple way we have just outlined. But this is not all. There is action and more action. Faith without works is dead. The next chapter is entirely devoted to step 12. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, brother. No doubt. Okay, as we go through the day, this step 11 is my favorite reading in the whole book anyway. I mean, I love the whole book. I love the whole program. But step 11 is so special because it's a step I suggest we all live in every day. It covers everything. We living in step 11. It's going to cover the first 10, as I shared earlier in the meeting. And it's going to cover step 12. Step 12 will be on. Then that way, see, we working all the steps. We don't have to worry. We got one bomber up there. Dan, you see it? So, Bill, here on page 87, Bill, you know, like he's dealing with prayer again. So he had a way of doing things differently. And step 11 mentions prayer and meditation, of course. So Bill wrote about meditation first, and then he mentioned about prayer. But how do we gain an effective prayer life? And Bill explains that to us right here. He gives us a very good, definite, and valuable suggestion. It says, step 11 says, we pray. And there's a word in there that we say real fast. We pray only for God's will for us and the power to carry that out. So it's telling us what to pray for. Pray for God's will to be done. Please don't let my will come back in there, because I'll be running the show again, and I'll be running to that liquor store, and then I'll be that tornado rolling through people's lives again, and probably end up dead somewhere. I know I probably would if I ever drank again. Thank God that thought of drink hadn't even popped back up. So we need, what we alcoholics need in our lives is an effective prayer life. You know, it's not that hard. When I seen I couldn't fix everything on my own, I had to turn to prayer and meditation. When I gained that connection to power, it gave me the motivation. I got to rely on him today and not like me. But you know, it don't happen overnight. No, it don't. This process must continue for a lifetime. It definitely takes practice. Like I reiterate that over and over again. So, you know, next page tells us we alcoholics are undisciplined. So we need God to discipline us, right? We need to ask him, what do we need to do? Are we taking steps? So if I want to take steps from here to my kitchen in there, right? I need God to help me direct them steps, because I might veer out the darn course, you know? So I have to depend on this power greater than me all the time. So what we really need, though, is God's direction in our lives and the power to carry that out. So when we pray for God's will to be done, and it's an effective part of our life becomes better. And then it talks about the very last sentence, I think on the next page, page 88, it talks about step 12. You see, we alcoholics at this point, we have recovered, we have been given the power to help others. And helping others in step 12 is the foundation stone of all of our recovery. You can help, one alcoholic can help another when nobody else can. I've experienced this in my life many times. And also on page 88, it talks about it works, it really does. So true for an alcoholic of my type. Now, when it comes to the personal life and a personal communication with God, and the book says God as we understand him, however you understand him, we simply need to go to him. I have to go to him and tell him about my specific problems that I have to deal with every day. He already knows them, but we approach him, we talk to him, we rely on him. So I have to fit my life to be of maximum benefit to God. I simply have to talk to him. I have to ask him, God, what is your will in this situation? That's where the step 11 pause that we talk about come in. No matter where you at, you can be in the public and anywhere you want to be. A simple reliance upon him solves all our problems. But the big book talks about, at some extent, we become God conscious, right? So it makes it easier to talk to him. I don't have a problem today talking to God instead of blocking him out. I used to talk to myself because I thought, you know, hey, I'm God. I can talk to myself. I can fix my own problem. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk to the bird.
Oh, we gotta be quiet though for a minute. So anybody, my little great granddaughter, she loves it. So anyone who will use the valuable suggestions that Bill has laid out for us here, we should be able to develop and focus on our specific needs and problems through this prayer, simple prayer. And then we will see what God's direction is for our lives, and then we can grow in God's will. And his will will become apparent to all of us. You know, a little personal experience, like I said, helping others is a foundation stone of all of our recovery. It helps me. I'll be through in just a minute. Okay. So bottom
tolerance.
yeah. Hey, that's my great granddaughter. She'll put everybody down and come hang with her pawpaw, and that's a blessing. So hey, this life that they has given me, I can be here for them today. They don't have to wonder where I'm at, what I'm doing no more. But then, bottom of page 87, we constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show. You know, this was a turning point in my life, very serious turning point. Shoot, when I ran the show, life was real crazy, out of control. But, ooh, I can tell y'all some stories, but we'll get to that another Sunday. I might share my whole story with y'all one Sunday. But then it says, humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, thy will be done. There's some powerful words. God, when we ask God to direct our thinking, we simply pray for his will to be done. And then if we run into a situation, I have to do this a lot in my life. That is, Lord, let your will be done. People gonna piss me off. If some places I may go, people gonna piss me off. Family gonna probably piss me off. But you know what else? Step 11, God, that will be done. You know, then I can just smile and share something with them. But don't even have to get angry, you know. But you know how alcoholic minds is. Things happen. It's life. So, but you know, we got a better way to deal with them. So then it said on page 88, thy will be done. We are then in much less danger of excitement, fear, anger, worry, self-pity, or foolish decisions. We become much more efficient, no doubt about it. Nothing like prayer and meditation. So I just hope everybody can get a great prayer life together if you hadn't got it yet, because it worked. Then we can also ask God, God, please give me some inspiration. Give me an intuitive thought or a decision. Then the book says, as I'm going to go back a page, it says, we relax and take it easy, right? It says we don't struggle. So we shouldn't have to struggle. We struggle enough in our drinking careers, right? Struggling trying to keep whiskey in our body, and struggling with people. We struggle with relationships. We struggle with ourselves. We struggle with the idea of a God that might help us. So, man. And then Bill talks about, we usually conclude this period of meditation with a prayer, no doubt. Now, when it comes to meditation, you don't have to go get on no yoga mats and all this stuff to do no meditation. But I'm gonna share with you some of my meditation, right? When I run into a situation, when I get through praying, I can sit there for 5 or 6 minutes. I can even be walking, I can be driving my car, I can simply meditate on what I need to enhance my relationship with God. That is what I meditate on. God, what do I need to do today? Teach me what to do. Teach me how to treat people right. Teach me how to talk to people right. And it's just that simple. But I have a lot of time to spend with God today since I'm a disabled veteran. So I have plenty of time to do this work. And I love doing it. So I have plenty of time to talk with God and with other people today. That's the beauty of this program. When it talks about step 12, the idea from step 12 comes from, it started back in step 2. No doubt about it. Came to believe. Matter of fact, I got that beautiful book here, Came to Believe. So came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, right? And it's clarified or it's confirmed in step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Step 11 is the principle we must practice on a daily basis, man. It'll change your life. But we got 24 hours a day. Step 11. The big book says what we really have is a daily reprieve, right? Contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Well, we had this daily reprieve today because we got on awakening. We got some ideas from the big book. As we go through the day, we got those ideas we incorporate in our lives. And then when we retire at night, that covers the whole day. As we go through the day, we pause. Conscious contact with God. So as we doing our day, right? We are doing what God wills for us today. So what are we to do when things starts going wrong for us? I'm gonna share with you something. Bill, we just went over that part. When something goes wrong, as Bill says, as we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful and ask for the right thought or action. We'll see, if I was still trying to run the show, my right thoughts would be way off track. My actions would be way off track. But this program is incorporated, wow, humility. You know, first we had an honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness, right? These are 3 beautiful things. So practicing these things each day. And then back on page 88, It goes on to say, we do not tire so easily, for we are not burning up energy foolishly as we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. The favorite part, the longest paragraph in the book, next, right? It said it works. It really does. And that's my sponsor's favorite read paragraph in the book too. But then I look back on doing this program, it does work. Because the last paragraph in the reading says we alcoholics are undisciplined. So we let God discipline us in the simple way we have just outlined. Step 11, they just gave us an outline to live on a 24-hour-a-day basis, one day at a time. But that is not all. It also goes on to tell us there's action and more action. Faith without works is dead. The next chapter is entirely devoted to step 12. Faith without works is dead. You know, and the work is not hard. It's pretty simple. Prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God. That is who solved our problems, people. And that is who, he gives us a daily guide, a design for living. Oh, what happened? Oh. I clicked out.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, I clicked out or something, didn't
It's okay.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what I did, but it's all right.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay.
It's a bit late, yeah.
A little bit late. Okay. Yeah, let me share this up top though. One suggestion on a prayer, right? Just step 11 process. You use a few simple words, like I started using these few simple words in the beginning and it started working for me. It says, God, please give me an intuitive thought or decision to help me with this problem that I am facing right now. That's where the pause comes in here. You can be at work, you can be in church, you can be at the mall, you can even be in your own house. It works. It says, help me, God, to know what I should do and to keep me mindful that you are running the show. Free me from my bondage of self, right? We talked about that back in step 3. We asked for relief from bondage of self, right? So we continue to have this relief from bondage of self incorporated in step 11. And then once again, always remember, thy will be done, not mine. Amen. Beautiful process, no doubt. Well, I thank everybody for being here today. I hope somebody got something out of the meeting today. And we get, let me see, I don't know what time. Oh, right on time. Okay. Yeah, I hope somebody got something out of it. As we close the meeting, anybody have any comments or questions afterward? We'll be on. Oh, I got to meet a sponsee here in about 5 minutes. But anyway, Brother Dan, we can close it out and see if anybody got any comments,
Cool.
suggestions, or whatever may be on somebody's mind.
Super stuff again, Campbell. Absolutely on fire. Cool. Thank you very much for facilitating the meeting today. The recording will be stopped shortly, just after we finish the official side with the step 3 prayer found on page 63. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self so that I better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Amen. Thank you.
Amen,
Chaps.
brother.
Just
Yeah,
turn
thank you,
this on a
Brother
second.
Dan.